everybody, and welcome to the first ever episode of The Recovery. I'm your host, Nick Budicin. I, along with Angus Craig, will be carefully guiding you through the delicate time that is Monday morning, the start of a new working week, the start of a new uni week. Angus, how you going?
Yeah, I'm going well, thank you. Yeah, a bit of an early start this morning from Monday, but not too bad.
Very early start.
It was a very early start.
Not accustomed to it. I slept in as per usual, but
yeah,
what you going to do?
I think our definitions of sleep-ins are quite different.
Very different. First up this morning, Angus Craig with the news headlines.
So, a young boy was killed in a house fire in Adelaide this morning, with one man being critically injured and 6 students managing to escape. Metropolitan Fire Services were called to the blaze at 3:30 this morning to discover the young man deceased in the building, and the 65-year-old man was rushed to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in a critical condition. Rumour has it that Queen Elizabeth has told her inner circle of her plans to abdicate and make Prince Charles the king. It is reported that the wheels are already currently in motion and that the Queen plans to have just 3 more years at the top before stepping down. United States President Donald Trump has been heavily criticised for not specifically condemning white supremacists who held a rally in Virginia over the weekend. Speaking at his New Jersey golf club, Trump condemned displays of hatred, bigotry and violence on many sides before ignoring journalists' questions about whether the Charlottesville attacks constituted an act of terrorism. Insults and allegations towards one another from the figures in the Greens party have come to surface following a 4 corners behind-the-scenes examination. Some of the key points that came out were that Bob Brown and other Senator Greens have called on Senator Lee Rhiannon to retire, and the New South Wales branch was claimed to be led by a controlling group of people not directly elected by members. These exchanges come after a terrible couple of months for the Greens, where 2 senators were forced to resign because of constitutional bungles on dual citizenship, and a third was locked out of voting in the federal party room for differences on school funding policy. And overnight in the APL, Manchester United defeated West Ham 4-0.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Angus.
No worries.
And I did forget to mention at the start, we are here in the brand new media hub at La Trobe, the first ever live stream program.
Yeah, it's very exciting to be part of it. It's a really nice little setup here.
It is really good.
Yeah.
It is a little bit intimidating looking out into the Agora,
we've got a great shot of everyone here.
Yeah, looking at all the judging faces.
Yeah, a bit quiet for Monday morning, but
I think everyone's a bit too tired and
it looks like a nice day though.
To notice.
Yeah,
it is a beautiful day, and it was a good weekend as well. Especially in the footy, not if you're a Richmond supporter. We've got the highlights here, I believe, of round 21. Friday night, it was a big game for the Western Bulldogs.
It was a big game for them. Yeah, they must win, really. They needed.
It was a must win. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it done. Jonathan Patton, he had a field day. He kicked 3 in the first quarter and was completely unstoppable in the air. But I think the big talking point to come out of this one was the Toby Green incident, Angus. What was your take on it?
I think he has to get done for that. Due to his bad record, I think if he's going to get 1 week, it's going to go up to 2. I think we can't be letting players get away with doing stuff like that. I think if we let him get away with kicking someone in the face, then what's to stop players every time they get a handball to put their foot up?
Yeah, absolutely.
To kick them as well. Absolutely.
And I believe the next game that was played was Fremantle and Sydney. I think the less said about that one, the better.
Yeah.
Sydney absolutely dominated. Buddy Franklin killed them.
Yeah.
Luke Parker. Yeah. They had so many contributors across the board, and they, I will say, I called it. Quite soon in, 100 points, 100-point win.
Yeah. Genuine shot at the flag now as well.
I think so. I think they are a genuine shot. It's really unbelievable considering they started 0-6. But hey, they are absolutely in with a shot.
Yeah. Well, they're going to become the first team to ever play finals, starting 0-6. And now they're looking at a top 4 spot as well.
Incredible scenes. Not so good for the Tigers, as I said. Harry Taylor absolutely dominated us. But we're moving on now to the AFL International Cup that was played on the weekend. And we're joined by Tim Fitzsimmons and Jared Gardner. I'll start with you, Tim. You were actually at the game. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was. I was actually pleasantly surprised, by the skill level. I thought it might be a bit down. Obviously, Australia, the only place that you play AFL professionally. So I was very surprised by the skill level of some of the sides here. We see Amua Parika, who was the star of the day, as they would say, for PNG here, kicking the first of his, I think, 6 goals for the day. He was unbelievable. And we can see here the flair, the passion that they really have. He's here going up for another one. He was
He seemed unstoppable in that forward line. He was just clunking everything that came in there.
And yeah, the thing was that both sides came out a million miles an hour. USA were actually on top early, kicked a couple of early goals. And yeah, they were just coming out at a rate of knots. It's probably as raw as the game you'll see. There's not as much structure here. We see passion on both sides. A lot at stake for both sides. PNG 1-1, definitely needing a win and a big percentage boost to have any chance of making it to the grand final, which in fact will be this Saturday at the MCG between the top 2 sides.
Yeah, there you can see a bit of biffo there. As you said, a lot of passion in the contest.
Yeah, you're right.
So the US, they were undefeated going into this.
They were.
And PNG lost to Ireland. So what does that do for the sort of computations of the grand final matchup? Is it anyone's shot now to play at the MCG?
It definitely is. Well, USA have probably shot themselves in the foot here by they actually went down to PNG by a pretty convincing margin. They were undefeated, so if they won this, they do have a game against France this week, who are on the bottom of the table, which you would suspect they should win. So it would have, if they won this, they would have been 4-0, and the 2 undefeated sides now, New Zealand and Ireland, actually play each other this week. So one of them will get beaten, and PNG with a big win, 36 points I think it was, and they were just too good, and they've given themselves a percentage boost. So if they get another percentage boost, I think it'll be too hard to catch New Zealand. Their percentage is something ridiculous, about 450 or something like that. So they shouldn't be able to. You can see Parika here, the passion here, the channeling. He's in a BT showing the bowl, a bit of Jacko about him.
That's incredible.
Bit of play, just toying with the defence really. And yeah, their running game PNG was just too strong for the USA. They couldn't keep up.
And also the accuracy. If you're looking at the screen now, 12-2, that makes it 13-2. They
scored. Yeah, it was 15-2. So it was definitely a lot of the AFL clubs could definitely get something, learn something from this. A lot of inaccuracy in the AFL in front of goal this year. So it was really good to see something different. You can see the passion here. There was the PNG players. Every player was really celebrating after every goal. You can see here toying with the crowd there, counting his goals. USA a couple of late consolation goals. Wasn't too important in the end. They were still pretty well beaten.
Yeah.
But the fans got down there. USA, plenty of USA support there. A lot of family and friends, I assume, coming over with the team, and it was just incredible, really seeing all the supporters there getting so passionately involved. Even at the end here, getting their late consolation goals, the crowd was still up and about, and really, there's nothing really to lose. They're over here. I guess the main thing about it is obviously broadening the game overseas, but they're here to have a good time. You can see here PNG as well, after the game, celebrating pretty hard. And I think one of the big things to take out of this is also the broadening the game into countries like PNG, who are pretty close to Australia geographically and stuff like that. And then all the way over the other side of the world, you got USA, Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, all these countries coming together to play our game, really, which is unbelievable.
Absolutely.
And playing at suburban grounds, I think, was the key of this round, especially. So it was good to see.
Yeah.
We were down at Montrose, actually, me and Unique on
Thursday
night.
Thursday night.
The vibes down at the club were unbelievable, weren't they?
It was electric. We spoke with Peter Harrison, the sort of tour manager for Papua New Guinea, and the difficulties they face in getting sort of 2 teams over there. It's incredible, but they get the support of volunteers. They get everyone engaged, and by coming down here and playing, they're engaging local crowds.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just good for the sport of AFL, it's good for the people in AFL circles, locally, internationally. It's really a great thing, and I encourage anyone who loves footy to get down and sort of enjoy a game for the AFL International Cup. So we've got a different segment now around the leagues. Tim, the EFL this weekend.
Yeah, well, Montrose, who actually hosted this game, the International Cup game, they had a game against Blackburn. The Blackburn they started the season like a house on fire. a few injuries to key players lately, and they've dropped out of the 5 before this game for the first time for the year. So it was a pretty important game against Montrose, I feel, because Montrose been pretty unsuccessful on field this season. They've struggled a bit, and I think the star of the day really was Jake Hammond for Blackburn. Kicked 4 goals, was really troubling the Montrose defence, and he helped them to a 46-point win, which was really important considering some of the other results that went against some of the top teams in the competition. We'll start with Noble Park and Baldwin. Noble Park had a 37-point win on the road against Baldwin, which is huge because Baldwin started the season very slowly, but just started to find some form and getting the form, I guess, back at the right time of year, like they did last year. So they're back to back reigning premiers in the AFL, and one of the big stories coming out of the game.
Chris Pendlebury
Chris Pendlebury for Baldwin. Obviously a massively important player for them. Actually went down with a leg injury, got stretched off. So it'll be a massive loss for them, I feel.
Could be season over for Chris.
It could be. I don't want to jump to conclusions or anything like that, but the way it's looking, it probably wasn't too good. Saw a few tweets come in from that game saying definitely it didn't look too good. So fingers crossed for him. Another game was massive, was Rowville and South Croydon. Rowville struggling, made the finals last year, but they've really, really struggled this year. I feel they just haven't been up to it this season. Against South Croydon, who were definitely one of the form sides in the comp, second on the ladder, coached by ex-North Melbourne player Lee Adams, who actually retired a couple of years, or maybe last year or the year before with concussions and stuff like that, which was pretty disappointing. But he's coaching South Croydon. They were flying at the start of the year, but now they've lost 2 in a row, and they're struggling. They've dropped down to 3rd, and taking their place is Doncaster, who have been real surprising. They were 7th, I think 6th or 7th about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they've won 7 in a row. Had a big win over East Ringwood by 64 points.
Charging home.
Yeah, they are. And I guess the other biggest story of the round was Vermont losing their first game of the year. The club as a whole has been outstanding this year. They lost their first game as a club last week out of the seniors, reserves, 19s. The reserves losing their first game for the year. 19s undefeated, and their seniors lost their first game. They haven't probably been the best. They were 16 or 15-0 before this. They probably haven't been the best 15-0 side we've ever seen. They've definitely been in a few games, but they suffered their first loss to Norwood, which was really, I guess, Norwood have been, they were disappointing. They were in a lot of people's finals predictions at the start of the year. So it was they've been disappointing, but they're coming home with a house on fire, but like a house on fire, I should say, but all too late. They're still not going to make finals, which is pretty disappointing. So just looking at the ladder here, we've got Vermont still on top, 15-1. They're 4 games clear now of second. So they've locked in top spot. They'll have a week off in the first week of finals, which start in 2 weeks' time.
And who's battling for those last spots in the final?
It's going to be intense. It's a top 5 in the AFL in Division 1. Yep. There's 6 teams that can realistically make it. And Blackburn, they had a win, but they still weren't able to jump into the top spot. I think 4th and 5th both had wins in Noble Park and Doncaster against 2nd and 3rd, so it really evens it up and makes it even more interesting because obviously 2nd and 3rd, they'll get a double chance. They'll play week 1, the winner will go on to play Vermont the second week. So it's really intense. It's going to come down to, and just looking here at the percentages, I mean 2nd to 4th are all on between 117 and 118, which just shows exactly how close Division 1 is this year under Vermont. And then the other divisions, just briefly going over them, I think one of the big games in Division 2 was Mooroolbark, who have been struggling. They were 4th. They were 3rd, I think, for a lot of the year. Dropped down to 4th, losing a couple of games they shouldn't. They lost to the bottom side in Waverley Blues, actually, a couple of weeks ago. So they've had a few disappointing losses, but then beating Doncaster East, who were 2nd, and probably the form side of the competition, actually, the last few weeks. So that's a big result in Division 2. Division 3, the big result there was Baronia beating Park Orchards, I should say. Sorry about that.
You got there.
Yeah, I got there in the end, who were on top of the ladder. Baronia having a 9-point win over them, which is massive. That keeps them in the hunt for finals. They were sitting, I think, 3rd or 4th before that game. So that really strengthens their claim for a final spot. And Division 3 is unbelievably close. 1st to 7th, there's 1 or 2 games in it. So it's really important that the sides in that bracket, the sides that are in that bracket, I guess, it's massive to get wins over them other sides. And then in Division 4, the big game I think was Coldstream defeating second place Whitehorse Pioneers, who have been pretty disappointing actually of late. So they're kind of falling off to stay within touch of fourth place. So all throughout the EFL, it's very, very close, and it's really going to be a tight finish for them last spots in finals in a few weeks' time.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for that wrap-up, Tim. Now, Jared, we've got the NFL, a big weekend there as well.
Yeah, definitely. A big week in terms of implications for finals races in Division 1. First of all, we were out at Yulong Reserve in Bundoora on Saturday afternoon to see Bundoora and West Preston, second versus third on the Division 1 ladder. A really important game for both sides, and we were lucky enough we were hoping to see the top two goal kickers in Division 1 in Ahmed Saad and Gary Moorcroft.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, Ahmed Saad kicked 1 goal for in the first half before having to sit out the second half with a hamstring injury, so that was unfortunate for West Preston. And inaccuracy really cost them, with Bundoora winning by 2 points. Two-time Frank Brosbrook medalist Matthew Dennis was the star of the game, kicked 3 goals and was just clunking everything in the second half when it really mattered, and got Bundoora over the line there. In other games around the grounds, Northcote Park won their game to keep in the race for that double chance in finals, defeating Hurstbridge by 15 points. Greensborough, we call them the Sydney of the NFL, they lost their first 5 games and now they've won 10 of their last 11.
Oh, my goodness.
To be in the top 5. It was amazing to see. They were bottom of the ladder looking at relegation after 5 rounds, and now they're almost in with a shot at a double chance. So it's great to see them going well. Top of the ladder, McLeod defeated Montmorency by 54 points in just a dominant display there. 2 games clear at the top of the ladder now, so you don't really see many teams that are going to come close to McLeod in September. So that's going to be interesting to see how they go come September.
Absolutely. And the race for the finals, is it hotting up there?
The races, the top 5 is set in terms of finals positions.
Okay.
It will be McLeod. McLeod should finish on top of the ladder. They are 2 games clear with 2 rounds remaining, so barring a catastrophe, they should have the top spot in the minor premiership sewn up. Bundoora, with that win over West Preston on the weekend, have gone into second on percentage. They're equal on points with Northcote Park, but only a game back of both West Preston and Greensborough. So it's going to be a really interesting race coming into the last round of the season, last 2 rounds of the season, to see which teams will snare those double chances and which teams are going to be informed come September. We don't really know. So it's going to be a real interesting race. In Division 2, it's North Heidelberg. They are just the dominant team at the moment. There's no real side that's coming close to North Heidelberg. Shane Harvey kicked 8 goals, and it was just, they won by 140 points over Laylaw without Boomer Harvey. The second week he hasn't been in the side, and they're just looking formidable.
They get it done anyway, don't they?
They just do it without him, do it with him. He's probably the best player in the competition, but North Heidelberg still the best team in the competition, and doesn't look like anyone will really come close to North Heidelberg. And in Division 3, the top 4 is set, so South Morang and Banyule will play each other in the first week of finals, and that's going to be a really interesting game because they've split the games this season, so it'll be really interesting to see who can get that first spot in the grand final in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely, and as you said, they split the games during the season, so there'll be a real air of anticipation. The matchup's already set, so it's going to be a big one when they do meet up. Yeah,
definitely, and I think there's such good players for both sides. Banyule have the leading goal kicker in James Cruceratus, who's previously been a Division 1 goal kicker, so it's good to see him in Division 3, and Scott Gumbleton, former Essendon and Fremantle players, playing down there. He's getting a run in the ruck and going forward. I think he kicked 3 goals on the weekend, so there's a lot of talent going around in that division, and some of the young players for South Morang are incredible, so it's going to be a great final series across all 3 divisions in the NFL.
Absolutely, and we're all looking forward to it. Thank you very much, Jared. Thank you very much, Tim, for your wrap-up of the local leagues. We're just going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Angus and the burning question.
Thank you.
Have you guys got?
And a good job there by Amwa Tariqa, who kicked 4 goals in the last game against Nehru. He did a very good job to get about a 45-meter arc, by the way, for those of you watching at home. So the kick will come right about on the paint. As I mentioned, he kicked 4. He walks forward like a horse needing a good relief, and he kicks that one on the way, and he has leveled the scores.
See the results if you did, but anyway. So
Yeah, give me a 5 count.
line up from about 35 out, maybe a little touch under that. About a 25-degree angle and a chance here to tie the score.
Yes, welcome back to The Recovery. I'm Nick Budicin. This is Angus Craig. We're now getting into the burning question, a bit of a change of pace.
Yeah, something a bit not sports related.
Yes, and we're just going to start off with this video recently. On
Yeah,
the
by
topic,
Tony Abbott just a few days ago.
Yeah, from Tony Abbott on the topic of same-sex marriage. Okay.
Well, I see we have some technical difficulties here.
That's all right. Basically, the video, Tony Abbott coming into bat for freedom of speech and saying that if you believe in freedom of speech, you should vote no in the upcoming postal vote for same-sex marriage. Now, the burning question is, firstly, why is this guy getting any airtime? We know he's the former Prime Minister, but it's just ridiculous to say that. And secondly, why can't the government just make this happen already?
Tony's basically come out and said he's making it into something he's not. He said if you're opposed to same-sex marriage, vote no. If you don't want political correctness, vote no. And he's just sort of using this divide and conquer kind of technique with this. Right, I think we have the video here, actually.
We do have the video. We've just been informed that we've fixed the gremlins in the tech room. So this is what he had to say.
Turnbull government and by the coalition party room, the whole Australian people will now have a say on same-sex marriage. Obviously, I'll be voting no, but in the end, this is not about the politicians, this is about the people, it's about your view. And I say to you, if you don't like same-sex marriage, vote no. If you're worried about religious freedom and freedom of speech, vote no. And if you don't like political correctness, vote no, because voting no will help to stop political correctness in its tracks. Obviously, I'll respect that result, and I imagine that all of my colleagues, every single one of them, will respect the result. And I call on both sides of this debate to respect whatever result the plebiscite gives us.
So, what he's trying to do is trying to broaden it to as many people possible to try and get them to vote no, which is what my main concern with this vote is, that I feel a lot of those on the yes side are just kind of, they're just okay with it, not exactly advocates. They're not pushing really hard for yes. Most people are just okay with it, whereas those on the no side, such as the religious groups, they're going to be very well prepared for this. They're going to be very well planned. They're going to be making sure that everyone is voting no on their side. So basically, if anyone wants this to go through, they really do have to make sure that they go and vote and don't just rely on everyone else to vote. Because at the end of the day, if it's a low turnout, say 18 to 13%, even if the yeses still win, the government could look at this and say, well, there's clearly not that much interest in it, so we're not going to go ahead with it.
They'll definitely be looking at the turnout numbers in terms of credibility of the vote. And as you said, the divide and conquer approach, I hate to draw the comparison, but he really is sort of tapping into the Donald Trump approach, really sort of appealing to the far right and the conservatives, which he is a conservative, so all power to him. He's entitled to tap into that market, I suppose, but the way that he's doing it is very obviously ripped from the Donald Trump approach, and the idea that political correctness is being attacked. I think it's just a ridiculous thing to say, and it's interesting to hear how he talks since Trump has come into power. While he was Prime Minister, at least, his attitude, he was still conservative, but it was a lot more measured. And I guess as sort of the main person in power, you do have to be a certain or have a certain amount of measure to what you say. But since then, he's really come out and really sort of laid the boots into what he calls political correctness gone mad. It's not. It's just everybody wanting the same rights.
Yeah. He's blown into something that it's not, just to try to appeal to a lot more people. So basically, just if you want this to go ahead, just got to urge as many people to vote as possible and to not just rely on other people just voting yes. So even if the yeses win, I mean, this isn't actually to introduce same-sex marriage. This is so that the Parliament will vote on it. So we've really got to make sure that enough numbers do come out.
Absolutely.
And really vote for it.
As you said, it isn't a legally binding vote. It's a $122 million poll that could have been done much cheaper. But I do understand a lot of young people are disenfranchised by how this has sort of gone down, but the most important thing is to get out and vote. And obviously our views are to get out and vote yes. But
because we can see the same thing. If we don't get this vote through, we could see the same thing that happened to Brexit, see the same thing that happened to the Republic, where it's just you just don't get the numbers. And this could go on. If this doesn't go through, this could go on for another 10 years, another 15 years, just like the Republic did. They went on for about 20 years. So we really got to make sure if we do it right this time.
Exactly. Definite shades of Brexit, not in terms of subject matter, but in terms of sort of the feeling. I mean, everybody before Brexit thought that it was just a given that they would stay in Europe. And then the shock on the day of voting when it came through that they would be leaving, the leave vote won, we have to make sure that we don't fall into that trap of thinking that yes will win. And we need as many people to get out there as possible. I know we're trying to be a bit straight down the line, but our views are pretty clear. You need to get out and please vote yes. And as we said, Tony Abbott's approach, he's trying to tear people apart, basically. He's trying to get people to divide them all, to think that by voting yes for same-sex marriage, we're taking something away. You're not taking anything away from people. It's just giving everyone the same rights. Yeah, absolutely.
Just because there's same-sex marriage doesn't mean you have to enter into a same-sex marriage.
Exactly, and it's almost none of everyone's business. So,
which is why I hope the people who say, "Yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't really mind," as long as they actually then go and do the postal vote. Because those that are voting no, they're going to be very well prepared. They're going to be very well planned. They're going to be having rallies. They're going to make sure everyone on the religious side are going to vote no. So, hopefully we get enough numbers and good numbers too.
Absolutely. As we said, just get out there, just vote, regardless of what you believe. Get out there and vote, because even though it's not binding, we just have to sort of stand up for what we believe in.
It's not the best way to do it. I know a lot of people aren't happy with how it's going to happen. But, if we don't do it right this time, it could be a long time before we see it.
Exactly right. Now, I believe shortly we do have a guest live in the studio. We've got John Tran, the captain of Trobe Sports, coming in to discuss the Southern Uni Games results. And I believe there is another Uni Games coming up. And we also have Carl Adams of the Northern Blues VFL Development League side. He's coming in following the announcement by the AFL that the VFL Development League will be axed. And that has caused a lot of controversy because there's a lot of young footballers relying on that. But all of that is coming up after a recap of the news headlines with you now, Angus.
So the news headlines. A young boy was killed in a house fire in Adelaide this morning, with one man being critically injured and 6 students managing to escape. The fire services were called to the blaze at 3:30 this morning, and they discovered a young man deceased in the building, and a 65-year-old man was taken to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in a critical condition. The 6 students that managed to escape were international students, and they're all believed to be okay. And big news came out last night that Queen Elizabeth has told her inner circle of her plans to abdicate and to finally make Prince Charles the king. She's 92 at the moment, and she's planning to stay until she's 95 and then to step down. Reportedly, the wheels are already in motion, and the Queen only has 3 more years at the top. United States President Donald Trump has been heavily criticised for not specifically condemning white supremacists who held a rally in Virginia over the weekend. Speaking at his New Jersey golf club, Trump condemned displays of hatred, bigotry and violence on many sides before ignoring journalist questions about whether the Charlottesville attacks constituted as an act of terrorism. And insults and allegations towards one another from the figures in the Green Party have come to surface following a 4 corners behind the scenes examination. Some of the key points that came out were that Bob Brown and other senior Greens have called on Senator Lee Rhiannon to retire, and the New South Wales branch was claimed to be led by a controlling group of people not directly elected by the members. These exchanges come after a terrible couple of months for the Greens, where 2 senators were forced to resign because of constitutional bungles on dual citizenship, and a third was locked out of voting in the federal party room for differences on school funding and policy. In sport, we saw over the EPL overnight Manchester United defeated West Ham 4-0, and that's all for the breaking news.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Angus. And as I said, we are joined live in the studio by John Tran, captain of the Trobe Sports Uni Games teams. How are you going, John?
Morning, guys. Yeah, I'm going well. How are you?
Excellent.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Very well, very well. Thank you so much for joining us.
No dramas.
Now, the topic here really is the Southern Uni Games that were on this year. I believe Latrobe was recognised for sportsmanship with the Spirit of the South Award.
Yep, Spirit of the South Award.
Yeah, tell us a bit about the Uni Games or the Southern Uni Games and how they went for Latrobe.
Yeah, so Uni Games is like a week experience for all Latrobe members or university members, where you go up and then you spend a week together. You know, you play sport, you hang out, you socialise, you get to know people, meet people, etc., etc. For this year, our Latrobe team was very successful. I came away with 2 gold medals, one for women's netball and one for women's volleyball.
Brilliant.
And from that, throughout the whole week, universities, people from AUS, which is Australian University Sports, they pick a university in order to think that who recognised as sportsmanships, who played well, not just well, but play in the spirit of the game, spirit of the South, etc., etc. And then from there, they presented us with the Spirit of the South Awards at the end of the week. And so me, myself, Renee and Emily came up and presented, accepted the award on behalf of Latrobe. So so we had a good experience.
Excellent. And your role as the captain, tell us a bit about your role and how you sort of influence the whole Latrobe team.
Yeah, so at the start of it, myself and someone else, Nikki, we got offered, we had to apply for this position. So Emily sent out a application form. So you write on your experience, what you would bring to Latrobe, etc. And then from there, we had interviews. So it's pretty much like a job. And they went through the interview process, and then they selected me and her. And from there, we had to just lead the team. So we had to set a good example, which is the main thing. We had to make a couple of speeches. And then on top of that, I chose personally to go around to each and every sport, make sure that my presence was there, to make sure that if anyone needed anything, if they had any issues with anyone else, that they didn't feel comfortable talking to any staff, they come up, talk to me, and then I'll bring it up with the staff members. Also, throughout the nights out that we go out and socialise, if there's any issues that anyone has, and then they don't feel comfortable, they come talk to me, and then I'll try to help them out as much as I can. We had a couple of risk management trainings as well, which is pretty handy. Trobe helped us out with that. So they helped us to deal with situations that we needed and all that stuff. So we had a good training, and then we just pretty much had to set a good example and lead the team throughout the whole week. Absolutely,
and Latrobe sort of provides you with training as captain that you can use later in life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so leadership and then risk management training is always handy, and also just pretty much just being around and then just having someone come talk to you if you needed it. So that was pretty much our job.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the games themselves, in terms of student participation, what sort of benefits have you seen come of people getting involved in the uni game?
Oh, I just feel like it's more socially, it's a benefit, because for me personally, I do part-time studies, so I don't get to meet a lot of people at uni because I'm only here once, twice a week. And then you're in class for an hour and 2, so how often do you get to meet people?
Exactly.
You talk, you're in class and the teacher talks, and then you just sit there and you do a group assignment for 10, 15 minutes, and that's it, you're done.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to university games, you get to spend a whole week with someone, you stay in the same apartment, you eat, You play sport, you get to know each other, and then from there, it's pretty much meeting new people, I guess. Like, it's at the moment, it's nothing too serious. Like, obviously, we want to do well and have fun, but it's not too serious at the moment. Where next year they're putting a new system in where AUS will become like a national championships for sports, so that we get more serious then. But right at the moment, it's pretty much just getting to know people, having a good time in your lives, having the best week of your life. So like, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say that university games is probably the best week of not even the Trobe life, just pretty much their lives. So it's pretty good.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And to be able to provide that experience to university students, as you said, you're part-time, so and there's a lot of people at La Trobe. I mean,
exactly.
It can be tough to meet people. I mean, you look out into the Agora, it's still early in the morning, and there's still a lot of people, so it can be pretty daunting. But to be able to provide that to people is really great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, socialising, so that's pretty good.
Exactly. Now, I understand there are another uni games coming up.
Yep.
Soon.
So throughout the year, there's 2 university games. So one is called Southern University Games, which will happen in Geelong. That's the regional uni games. So that only includes universities from South Australia, Tasmania, and Victoria. And then the next uni games is in Gold Coast in September. So the dates are Sunday, 24th September to Saturday, the 30th of September, where we go to the Gold Coast for a whole week, and participate with unis around Australia. So the first one was just universities in Victoria, South Australia, and Tasmania, whereas the Australian University Games are pretty much unis from everywhere. And pretty much the last couple of years, we've had about 10,000 students come in total.
Wow.
So not just for the Trobe, but like the whole university is in Australia, so 10,000 students. So it's a pretty big event. It's the biggest university sport event in Australia that we host, that we participate in. So so it's coming up in Gold Coast. So guys, if anyone wants to get involved, just message the Trobe Sport, and then be sure you can find a sport for you somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just sort of off the top of your head, what sports do you offer?
So we offer, there's athletics, so netball, I'm the netball team manager, volleyball, beach volleyball, swimming, baseball, basketball, futsal, soccer, table tennis, badminton, taekwondo.
And what sort of skill? Can you be a basic sort of at the skill level?
Yeah, you can be basic. It doesn't have to be any extremes. Like we said, it's not too serious at the moment, which it will be. But at the moment, it's not too serious. So it's pretty much just getting people involved, participating, just socialising, getting to know people. So it's just much just basic skills, nothing too serious. You don't need to be the best in Australia, the best in the world, anything like that. You just have to be willing to participate.
Yeah. And is it quite affordable to be able to go up to the Gold Coast as well?
Yeah. It's pretty it's for a week. So you're there pretty much for a week, right? Yeah. And then the Trobe books accommodation for you. All you need to do is pay them. They give you uniforms. They give you assistance with anything you need. So all you need to do is book your flights and then talk to the Trobe Sport, and they can pretty much help you out with stuff.
That's really good. That is really excellent. Now, as far as the games themselves, you mentioned 2 a year. There's the Southern Uni Games and then the more national competition. In terms of elite sport, you said it's getting more serious next year. I know we're not quite on the same level as America with college sports, but can you see Australia going a bit more in that direction with that sort of change in tact, making it a bit more serious?
Yeah, not at the moment, but maybe give like 15, 20 years, maybe then, because then the American college system has pretty much been happening for, I don't know how long, like 50, 60 maybe.
A very long time.
Yeah, very long time. Put it that way, a very long time.
Yeah.
So I guess, obviously, when you first start things, nothing's is the best. Obviously, hopefully, over time, we can get to that stage, because that's pretty much the pinnacle, isn't it?
Yeah,
I watch sport on TV, and I can't believe it's just they're the same age as me, they're younger than me. They're pretty much the same uni as me, but then they compete on ESPN, not getting paid, but getting all recognised, where we're just competing for the show.
Exactly, at the Rose Bowl in front of 100,000 people.
Exactly.
It's absolutely incredible to think that these people are at university age and not getting paid, but they're bringing in so many people.
And then that's internationally recognised, whereas university games, maybe people in Agora might not even know. So,
exactly right. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, no
John,
dramas.
we really appreciate it.
Thanks
and
for having
again,
me.
we'll put the call out.
Yeah.
Anyone interested in playing sport for La Trobe, even though it's just for fun, email La Trobe Sport and they'll be able to get you involved.
Or Facebook us. Message Facebook us is always the way now.
Okay.
Facebook message.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks
Sounds
very much,
good.
John.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. That was John Tran, captain of La Trobe Sports. To another sort of developmental, sort of grassroots league segment. we are going to Carl Adams of the Northern Blues, who is playing in the VFL Development League. Recently...
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Okay. How long for? Excellent, and we're back. Thank you very much for joining us on The Recovery. We're here with Carl Adams of the Northern Blues in the VFL Development League. Thank you very much for joining us, Carl. How are you going?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's very good. No worries at all. Obviously, on the back of the recent announcement by the AFL that they're axing the VFL Development League, quite a shock for a lot of us. Playing in the Development League and hearing that announcement, how does that affect your footy?
Yeah, me and a few other boys from Northern played typically in development. It's a bit of a shock for all of us because we're not really getting much VFL with Carlton. So then, we're faced with a hard decision. Do we stay at VFL and be fringe players, or do we go back to local, play every week there?
Yeah.
It is a bit of a shock, but it is reality, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it kind of highlights the lack of a bridge between the VFL level and maybe being a fringe player and playing locally. Does that sort of draw a line in the sand, so to speak, for yourself? I mean, you have to really decide, do you want to push to play at the highest level, or are you happy sort of playing more locally? Has that been a tough decision, or is it?
Yeah, I guess as you get older, the chances get smaller and smaller. So I am aging, so I know that, but you always want to play at the highest level. You don't want to look back and be like, oh, I wish I played another year, wish I kept playing VFL instead of going back to local earlier. Yeah. So, it's a decision we all got to make at the end of this year. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, I know a few people also at Latrobe are playing in that league, and you said at the end of this year it's a decision you do have to make. What's the feeling around the team? Are a lot of guys considering playing VFL, or because there's going to be a lot of competition for those sort of list spots on VFL
definitely.
lists?
So we haven't really had much talk about it now because we kind of focus on making finals. But there's a few boys that definitely know what they're doing. They just want to keep playing VFL. But then there's a couple of boys, and Aaron. There's an inclusion with a couple of new teams. I think Frankston's coming back in, and Werriby's got a standalone.
Yeah.
So they'll definitely try poach a few players. It's all up to them, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, Frankston, they have their own VFL team now. Have they been in touch sort of with anyone from your club to see what the thinking is?
We did get a few Frankston boys when they did fold last year.
Yeah.
We did have a few come down, so maybe some of them might go back. But if they
want
to say Northern, they can. But Frankston's a standalone, so that might be a good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine with sort of the link with Carlton for the Northern Blues, that
it is tough.
Yeah, it would be extremely tough. So I believe we've got some footage from a Development League game here. From my own perspective, at least, it is a shame to lose that level of footy. I mean, it's no doubt you know this, but the more sort of development that we have in the game, I feel at least, the better it becomes at the highest level.
For sure.
So I'd be interested to see the effect it does have on the elite level, on the AFL and the VFL itself. Angus, as far as the effect that it would have on footy, are you worried about that at all? I know you play local footy as well.
Look, I think it is a shame that they're getting rid of that. I know a lot of boys that play in the development as well. That, as you were saying, will try and push to play at the highest level, but now sort of have to face that decision of whether to go back to local. thought it'd be interesting bringing Frankston back in to see how they go. That's down from my end, playing for Frankston. Yeah, I don't know. How do you think Frankston are going to go coming back into it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. If they get all their players back, because I know they had a few really good players who, I know one went to Coburg, a couple went elsewhere. But yeah, if they just get a good team, a few decent players, and there's no reason why they can't be competitive in the VFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, I'm definitely glad to have Frankston back in the VFL. I mean, to see them go out the way they did.
It was a huge club before they folded as well. They was in a lot of debt though, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think that was it. But they've provided so many great players, and I think that's the fear with getting rid of the VFL Development League. You're not going to get the sort of players that they might not have the belief in themselves that they can make it, but they get sort of picked out and nurtured.
Yeah.
You don't have that nurturing role that the coaches and that league provides. You yourself, as far as your decision, is it something prior to the announcement that you thought about that you would have to make soon? So did it sort of throw you off in a way where now you have had to consider your future much sooner than you were thinking?
Yeah, you're always thinking about yourself. Am I better off playing local? Am I better off staying here? With the decision of getting rid of the development, it has kind of swayed me a bit. But I'm still yet to make a decision. I think just with Northern, we'll go through all the development boys and see, like 1v1, have a chat, see if it's worth staying or if it's worth just going back to local. But yeah, it will probably be made sometime soon.
Have the AFL said why they decided to get rid of the development? Did they explain that to you, or did they just sort of...
We haven't yet really had a chat about it, but I guess with the inclusion of like VFL Women's getting bigger, more money into that, maybe less money into development.
Yeah, exactly.
So they haven't properly spoken to you, the club just sort of sat you down and told you?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So did you find out through the news, just like through finding out that the AFL made the announcement?
Literally through the news. I haven't heard anything from Northern Blues. Probably a good thing to get less attention off of our season.
Yeah.
And focus more on making finals and finishing.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, it just surprises us that sort of a decision that affects so many players that it wouldn't sort of come down at least directly to you. I mean, it would have been a big letdown once you heard that. Now, I know for myself, I was a soccer player, not a footy player, but the pathways that were in place to sort of go to the next level, they were a bit lacking. So it's kind of interesting to see what will happen from here. I'm hoping we don't miss out on sort of the next Matty Boyd. I mean, coming from Frankston and sort of the players that have come through the Development League.
There's certainly been a lot of feel-good stories that have come out of it.
Yeah, and it does make me a bit sad. I mean, I know we might not see the effect for a few years, but I'm just hoping it doesn't have too much of an effect on footy as we know it, I guess.
Because we've had our fair share of Carlton boys come play development. Matty Korczak's played a few games in the past 2 years. Jed Lamb came back from injury this year, did his knee, and then played development game. Daniel Gorringe played a couple. So there's heaps of Carlton players needing to come back from injury, not going straight into the VFL.
Absolutely, and taking it away sort of takes away maybe the games they need to get healthy again, which is another aspect.
And then if they say they go back to straight into the VFL, that's a spot for a young TAC Cup graduate to potentially play VFL there.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, that's about all the time we've got today. Thanks very much for joining us, Carl. Really appreciate you coming in and talking about it, even though it sucks.
No worries. That's okay.
Really do appreciate it. So I believe we're just looking at sort of what we've got coming up. I think there's something exciting that you and one of our other
host who's currently away. A little segment that we have.
Can you tell us a bit about that?
So we're going to be doing, Mick and myself who's not here, we're going to be doing a unique sport of the week. So we're going to be going out and playing different sports all over the peninsula, down from my end and also from up here.
The Ninch.
Down from there, yep. So we're going to be doing things such as sort of clay target shooting, maybe some golf and mini golf, and just a few kind of. And I think Mick's gone. He's in New Zealand at the moment, so he's going fly fishing over there. He's going to be filming his adventures that he gets up to over there. So it's going to be a little fun sort of head-to-head segment, the two of us going at it.
A bit of Hamish and Andy about it?
Yeah, hopefully. A little bit of that. So hopefully we don't get kicked off too many courses, because I think we probably will end up getting kicked off the golf course. It's happened before.
I can definitely imagine that.
Yeah. And we'll come up with some consequences for the loser as well.
Some consequences. So we could be seeing some dares or some sort of go out in the Agora.
Yeah, perhaps something like that.
Maybe
Maybe
a funny hat.
Pantsless broadcast or just a few kind of things like that.
I don't think anyone needs that.
Well, Hamish and Andy do Pants Off Fridays, although they are just radio.
They are also Hamish and Andy.
That's true. So we'll find a few things to do.
Excellent. Now I understand axe throwing is one of the challenges that you guys have suggested. Now
we have thrown around axe throwing.
I don't think we can handle the insurance for that. So is one of you guys a qualified axe thrower?
No, we're not. We maybe do like some axe sculpting with some wood. We'll try and sculpt some.
Making your own axe?
No. Getting axe and sculpting something out of wood. You know when you go to those fairs and they have those...
Oh, wood cutting?
Yeah, that's the one I'm getting after. Yeah, some wood cutting.
Okay, so we've got a little sneak peek.
It's a little introduction.
Not quite a sneak peek, but a little introduction that you guys recorded.
Yeah, before he headed off for his trip.
So
Hi, I'm Angus. And I'm Mick. And welcome to what we like to call Unique Sports of the Week. Me and this clan over here will be going across Melbourne, trying to get some unique sports and showing you guys just how they work and get a bit of competitive side into it as well. We have a special edition this week as Mick's going away to New Zealand for the week. That's right, I'm going to go to the Tongariro River, going fly fishing with a couple of mates, and I'm hoping to catch me a nice couple of trout. So yeah, Mick will take the GoPro down with him, and we'll be back next week with a round of golf. Hopefully I'm a little bit better on the links than I am with the rod, but we'll see how we go. I don't think I've got much competition over here. Yeah, he doesn't. Alright, see you then. Tune in next week.
Brilliant. So that should be pretty entertaining. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Mick's got in store for this week over in New Zealand with his mates, but I'm sure he'll come back with something good for us.
Perfectly timed trip as well by
just to miss the first week.
Volunteers to host and then
needs a break 3 weeks in.
He needs a break. It's been too intense.
He missed the first week as well. It's in Byron Bay. He's only been here for 2 weeks himself.
I think slacker would be an understatement.
Yeah,
I could say that because he's in New Zealand, but yeah, he can see the home stretch already.
Oh yeah,
I would be interested because there was a fishing rod in there.
Yeah,
and he's sort of bragged about his prowess as a fly fisherman.
Yeah.
I want to see shots. I want to see proof that he can actually get it done. Yeah, definitely. What did you think of the show this week, Gus? I mean, our first show, the recovery. Nothing too serious, but also we did get a bit real there. It
was a good discussion there going on. I think we had a few hiccups along the way, but no, I think it was
expected.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably just going to get better from here, I'd say.
Oh, he's hoping. I think that the AFL International Cup is sort of the story that stood out for me.
Yeah,
seeing how footy is really developing overseas and how it's sort of bringing out the best in the local game. And it's also getting me more and more excited for the AFL finals. I know they're not the same level, but just the passion that is stirred by AFL, it's really getting me excited for the finals. It's been an unbelievable year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's probably the first year I can't actually sit there and picture someone actually in the grand final. All the good teams have had bad losses, and I just can't picture one club stringing a few wins together in a row against quality opposition every week of the finals.
Neither can I. I mean, no doubt I've had countless dreams about Richmond winning the grand final, but...
Well, are they pretenders? I mean, we look at I think their best footy is as good as anyone's, but we look at the ladder. They've lost to Adelaide, they've lost to Geelong, they've lost to Sydney, they've lost to GWS. I think we have the ladder up here just to have a look at coming into the finals.
It's almost there.
Until that comes up, you've lost to 4 of the top 5. So this is the ladder we've got here from the weekend's results. Giants beating the Doggies on Friday night pretty comfortably in the end.
A massive game as well. Well, I tipped the Doggies, so I'm not sure if that was my Richmond bias, just wanting the Doggies to win.
Yeah.
But GWS are peaking at the right time.
They are. They're getting a couple of guys back from injury for sure. They might lose Toby Green now for a couple of weeks.
They might. But seeing how Richmond played against Geelong, an undermanned Geelong as well, I hate to think that we've already peaked.
Yeah,
and that,
it
we're
really
not
was
pretenders.
one you had to win. Yeah,
we are a young side, but no one would have predicted. There's a ladder now. No one would have predicted that Richmond would firstly win 13 games in the whole season.
Yeah,
and be sitting in the top 4.
I definitely didn't have them in the top 4, especially
I did.
Oh, well, that's a given. It's their top 4 every year. So we look at the ladder now. So Sydney, not only are they pressing for the 8, they're pressing for the top 4.
I think it's unbelievable that they're doing that. Their percentage is very healthy. They can beat anyone. I think they've got Adelaide this weekend, and they're doing it all not so much completely on the back of Buddy Franklin.
No, because he's had a few down weeks.
He's had a few down weeks, but he is still near the top of the Coleman medal. So you can say that he's had down weeks, but there he is, sitting third on the Coleman tally, 4 behind.
Yeah.
And,
lucky Ben Brown missed the week. Did he? Oh no, missed last week. He missed a game.
He missed a game,
concussion.
With concussion, but still 4 back. I mean, Josh Kennedy is incredible.
To miss 5 matches through his injury to now just be kicking bags and just at the front is pretty impressive. Does Buddy make your All-Australian?
He does. He does for mine, and it's incredible, but he has been quiet, and that's made it more impressive that he didn't have 6 weeks off, but he wasn't up to his usual standard in those 6 weeks.
No.
Third in the Coleman, pushing for top 4 after losing 6 in a row. He has to be in there for me. Josh Kennedy also has to be in there. So
you think Danaher misses out? Or are you going to put 3 tools in?
You might need 4 tools. You might need to sneak Ben Brown in there as well. It's the first year in a very long time that we have had 4 tall forwards who genuinely deserve All-Australian. It's incredible. I love it, the return of the tall forward. Buddy maybe sneaks in on a wing.
I think Buddy sneaks in for his name. I think he doesn't do a whole lot else from kicking goals. He had a good game on the weekend, but I feel like him and Josh Kennedy both just kick goals. They don't do a whole lot else around the ground.
I fundamentally diseree with that.
You think Buddy's good around the ground?
I think he's great around the ground. He has athleticism that no one else has. Everyone gives away free kicks. And Dustin Martin turns the ball over, but, still a great player.
I don't think he does as much. I don't think he's as good as Danaher. I think Ben Brown's pressure up forward is better than Buddy's.
We'll get some sound effects in the coming weeks, so every time Angus says something stupid, we can...
No, I'm going to stand by that.
Play a boing sound or something.
I think Buddy just kicks goals. His forward pressure, I think, is pretty poor.
I'm speechless.
I would rather have Danaher, Kennedy, in this year's All-Australian.
I think Buddy on a wing, that would be the right spot for him because
on a wing.
On the wing. He plays that role. He plays up the ground. It's impressive. That's all I'm saying. Okay. You can have Buddy delivering the ball to Josh Kennedy. Buddy's field kicking is...
Would you rather have Tex Walker then for his field kicking?
Absolutely not.
You think Buddy's a better field kick than Tex?
Much better goal kicker. Toby Green, 2 weeks. Is that the verdict?
Well, I think he can't get 1 because of his poor record. So he's either going to get 0 or 2. So I think he gets 2.
2 and I think I agree.
Yeah.
Not going up for a mark. Looks down. Kicks Dalhouse in the face.
Draws blood.
Blood everywhere.
Completely intentional. Contact to the head. I think he's got to go for 1, which goes up to 2 and takes him out to the finals, wouldn't it be?
Well, it gives him a 3-week rest before the finals, so puts GWS in a really nice spot. Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's all we've got time for today for the very first episode of The Recovery in the new Latrobe Media Hub. Thanks for joining us. I've been Nick Budicin.
I'm Angus Craig, and we'll be back with Michael DePetta next week.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Step